most of the people that we know are empaths by nature. Being an empath is not an easy thing.
Somebody who's finding that light in this dark times, I think this is for them.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Listen Up with Simran Isha, where we dive into real conversations about life, personal growth, and everything in between. Today, we have an exciting episode lined up for you, so turn up the volume and listen up.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Listen Up with Simran Isha. This month we're talking all about mental health, and I think lately both me and Simran have felt it कि बहुत ज़्यादा न्यूज़ में वर्ल्ड में बहुत कुछ ऐसा हो रहा है जो हमारे को नेगेटिव कर देता है. By the end of it we become heavy because social media पे हम उसको इतना ज़्यादा देख लेते हैं. I know everything that is happening is so sad and so I know it's heartbreaking, but उसके बाद उसका वॉल्यूम इतना ज़्यादा हो जाता है ना हमारी लाइफ में that we don't know how to handle it. And me and Simran were talking about it personally over a call also कि यार इसको how do you manage it individually, how do I manage it, and we were talking about it and I think वो सेल्फ प्रिजर्वेशन अपने आप को अपने सैचुरेशन पॉइंट को रिकॉग्नाइज करना और अपने आप को समझाना कि यू नो I cannot take it anymore because somebody else can talk about it doesn't mean you also have to go out. Understanding these all factors is very important because obviously news is important, but then you also have to keep functioning, and that's what we want to talk about. This episode is not for everybody, but somebody who's finding that light in this dark times. I think this is for them, and we're talking about that aspect of this, right, Simran?
Yeah, I think like people who listen to our podcast or just in general, most of the people that we know are empaths by nature. Being an empath is not an easy thing because that means you feel other people's pain. You feel sorry, you feel upset, you are easily affected by their energy, right? So, with being that way and then having so much happen in the world right now, so many things happening in the world right now, which are not always the best things, they're horrible things, they're tragedies that are happening. And then hearing a story and then still being able to continue with your own life is not always easy, you know? And yes, it's important to get these stories out there and hear about what's happening and be informed about what's happening in the world. But I think there is a thin line now between information and
Overburdening, yes.
bombarding,
Exactly.
overburdening yourself with that information. Because the way the world works, we have social media in the palm of our hands,
Yes.
and we all know that if something goes wrong, you have like a million posts talking about that issue, and then your Instagram is full of content which is about that, and you keep consuming it, and you can only consume it up to a point. After a point, 10 reels, 20 reels, 30 reels, you will shut your phone and be like, you know what, I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah, everybody reaches
whatever
that
your point is.
Yeah. And I
Exactly.
think मैंने ये चीज realize की थी when India Pakistan was going through that war and I'm in Jalandhar, so it was like hotspot in that time. So like every night we used to have a blackout, and I felt that individually in my family everybody has a different saturation point. हर इंसान का to bear with what is happening different था. Like my 5-year-old nephew was first night he took it as a game. Okay, we're just it's just lights off. Second or third night he became scared. Like, okay, what is happening? Why it is happening every night? And then I remember my sister going through a different experience, and मुझे याद है we were all trying to function. हम सब कोशिश कर रहे थे just to keep functioning in the day. But at the back of our mind, everybody was thinking कि अरे आज रात को 7 बजते 8 बजते ही blackout हो जाएगा, and you don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, we are so grateful for India's defense system, which is so amazing, and I know they've like so many missiles were thrown and like it fought back, and I'm so grateful for this because I was so in scary part of the country where I was living right now. But जब वो हो रहा था ना, मुझे याद है मॉर्निंग में भी कॉन्वर्सेशन ईज नहीं हो रही थी. There is no heaviness feel होती है ना, throughout the day heaviness feel होती थी. और फिर and social media was not helping. I know. I was also consuming news कि ठीक है यार कहाँ पर हो रहा है पता चल रहा है blackout कहाँ पर है because obviously you have to be updated कि आपकी सिटी में क्या हो रहा है.
Yeah.
पर because आप कंटेंट कंज्यूम करते हो आपका फोन वो एल्गोरिथम पिक कर लेता है और फिर वो आपको हर कंटेंट थ्रो करने लगता है. Everything possible that everybody is posting about it. And वो एक पॉइंट के बाद just heavy हो रहा था. हैवी हो जाए. और मेरा जब सैचुरेशन पॉइंट आता था मुझे याद है कुछ और नहीं हो रहा था, बस एक फ्रस्ट्रेशन लेवल आ जाती थी कि अरे व्हाई दिस इज हैपनिंग, लाइक यू नो यू स्टार्ट क्वेश्चनिंग व्हाई दैट. वो हो जाता था. इसका कोई आंसर नहीं है, nobody could answer, and it was like the situation was new for everybody because चाहे बड़ा है चाहे छोटा है सब डरे हुए थे अंदर से. You don't know because it became about life and death, and normally you're living your life and the next day you're thinking about life and death. It becomes a scary thought. तो वो चीज मुझे याद है कि it was a little on the heavier end, पर obviously that phase has passed and you know India ने वो resolve कर लिया. Thankfully वो इतनी कुछ दिनों में ही होगा. It could have escalated but उन्होंने कुछ दिनों में resolve कर लिया. But I remember वो time heavy था, बस heavy था. और मुझे याद है हम दोनों की भी एक call हुई थी और I just told you what was happening and it's just I just couldn't even you know fathom why, like क्यों हो रहा है. So
Yeah.
I felt
And
it.
personally, for me, I couldn't, I can't even begin to imagine what it must have been like
Yeah,
for
I
you
know.
because I was not, you know, in the
Yeah,
same
like
area as you.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
to but like you said, like there's so much happening in the world right now. Like it is so important to understand that, like especially whether you're experiencing it or you're not, but you are some way a part of it. We're all part of this world, right? So whatever happens will affect us, you know. So it's important to understand ki how much is too much information, and when it is time to say, okay, I can't continue, you know, absorbing this information, otherwise I'm not going to be able to live. I will just be a, you know, I'll get paralytic and sit on my bed the whole day. And it can happen if you get into these places because social media is like a vortex, you know, it's like a black hole of information. So if you watch one reel, another reel, another reel, another reel about the same topic, and then not all information is right information. There's also misinformation. And then there is also sensational information, which is, you know, content which is made to make you watch and just keep you hooked and just sensationalize things bigger than they probably are, you know. And with all this out there every single day, can you imagine how much you're going through in a span of like, open your Instagram right now, in a span of 3 minutes of your scroll, you will have at least 10 times dopamine hits happen to you.
Yeah.
At least 10 times. Do you realize, like, I remember once when I was scrolling, and that's when I realized, okay, I need to not scroll. I will not scroll. I literally told myself this because I was scrolling and I saw a fun reel with a puppy and I was smiling. Then I saw next reel about some relationship advice. I was listening to it. Then I saw the next reel. It was about some person who lost both his limbs. And I felt so bad. I started crying. And then I'm telling myself, I went from happy to you know, informative and inspirational to like crying within a span of like 5 minutes. So how much of an emotional jump I'm giving myself when I'm consuming information, you know. It's not healthy for you to go through so much emotional spectrum in such a short time, you know. So even with the, you were talking about this, your friends were having trouble taking flights after the plane crash that just happened, you know. My brother is a pilot. So my mom was the worst person you could have met during that time because she was obviously trying to have it all together when she heard the news. But I could see within a day she had consumed at least 20,000 reels. And the next day she was just like, no, but this must have happened in the engine. No, but that must have happened. But can you imagine this will happen and that will happen? And I'm like, Mom, how much have you been on Instagram? Like, how much are you consuming right now? And she's like, yeah, I'm watching a lot of content. I said, exactly, because your brain has gone into hyperdrive because her son is a pilot. And I can only imagine, like, it's not easy. But you need to realize that there comes a point you can't keep absorbing information. It can really get to you. And it can really, you know, mess up your life and your everyday of being.
I know. I think this year has been like that. I think everybody, we're just trying to keep up with the trend. Okay, everybody's talking about something. I need to give an input or I need to say something about it. But I've also realized there's so much happened in this year. You don't know आपके personally कौन-कौन से triggers उसकी वजह से create हो गए हैं. आपने कितना आपको पता भी नहीं चला. Like I remember, it was a movie incident. Like last year I think. Kerala Story was last year I think. The movie released. It was a heavy story. Yeah. It was a heavy story, and I remember I went to watch that movie, and I came back. I went to watch with my sister. I came back, and I felt like numb after that movie. Like I didn't know what to do. And I remember I spoke to one of my sister's friends. She was asking me how was the movie, should I go and watch? And I know she's a very emotional person, and my first thing to her was, I don't think you should, because one, you are one at a younger age, and two, I know personally you're very emotional. You sometimes you don't know your breaking point only. Is that something you can consume? And I felt that with this year, that was one incident which was highlighted for me. But with this year, it has reached different points for everybody. हर एक इंसान के साथ ऐसा
Yeah.
हुआ है that the news of the air crash was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. Like you
Yeah,
didn't know what to do
heartbreaking.
with the news. And then I can't
Yeah.
even imagine what your mom must have gone through, imagining that your son is a pilot. Like I cannot even imagine that fear that must have built for her. And the entire industry also. I follow some of the crew members, and I saw
Yeah.
their posts. It was like heart wrenching. But then,
Yeah.
jump.
I learned something though, like in that period, because like my brother taught me something.
Okay.
Sorry to cut you,
No,
but
no.
like I remember like thing happened, and of course that day everybody was, there was an air of sadness and in the air. Yeah, everybody was quite highly upset about what had happened. Everybody. The next day, my brother had to go to work, and going to work for him was taking a flight and flying a flight. So he went to the airport, and he's like, Simi Didi, everybody, he calls me Simi Didi, he's like, everybody at the airport was dealing with us differently. Suddenly, everybody was like, are you okay? Everything's okay. Do you need anything? So there was like a next level of respect for the job that we were doing, and he felt that. And I asked him, I'm like, but how did you take that flight? Like, must be so difficult with. And he consumes world news, and he's a pilot himself, and this has happened in India. And he literally went like, if I keep listening, or I keep talking about it, or I keep consuming that, I will not be able to do my job. I have to do my job. I want to do my job. I love doing my job. So that was his personal way of dealing with it, and his choice to continue to maybe block a bit of the information out so that he can continue to function. Because he's like, every day if I take a flight thinking it might crash, I will never be able to fly a flight. And I'm like, that's so true. And that's a great way of like looking at it as well, even though it's a little harsh, but it's true, because you can't function if you are overburdened and overwhelmed by information. You just can't. So you as a person need to decide what's your saturation point. After a point, if content keeps happening and I'm not being able to handle it and it's getting to me, I mute a few pages. I will mute some Instagram pages. I will try not to follow them, these kind of things, and keep my distance. Not because I don't support the causes, or not because I don't want active voices, or I don't respect the people who are there. I 100% do, but I have reached my point where I can't function anymore.
Exactly. I even felt that, and I think that's what I've learned also. That it's okay if you want to draw up those boundaries a little sooner than everybody else. You're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned this year.
Whenever.
Yeah, you have to understand where your saturation point is. Again, we are reiterating this again in this episode, because that's where we both are coming from. When we shoot this episode also, that's where our thoughts are also coming from. कि नहीं यार, हम लोग जो ये सब सिर्फ कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं ना, उनके साथ क्या हो रहा है? They are actually just listening, and they don't have a place to let it out. They don't have anybody to go, because everybody is going through the same emotion. So nobody's there to guide them. I think what we both have felt in this journey and this year lately is कि understand your point and draw up those boundaries जहाँ पर आपको ज़रूरत लग रही है. Not just social media, so a lot of things, like people love to go and talk about it, with friends and have discussions about it. If you are willing and you are in that headspace, go for it. Do it, definitely. Give your opinion. But if you're not ready,
this is a big one.
Yeah, you can come back. You can avoid that conversation. It's okay. Avoid that cup of coffee. Avoid that one chat with friends. Just to save yourselves, और ताकि तुम normally function कर पाओ, and you can get back to life. Because at the end of the day, however sad it may be, you still have to go on. Life moves on, and it's the fact. ये truth है हमारा. हम इसको नहीं बदल सकते. So you also have to be moving on. You cannot just let the heavy things sit with you.
Absolutely. And everybody's sensitivity level is different.
Different.
I am more sensitive, somebody else is not, or somebody is even more sensitive than I am.
Yeah.
So you can't expect everybody to deal with information the same way, and you can decide how you want to deal with it.
Yeah.
You decide, you choose how you want to deal with information, negative or positive, that is coming your way.
I think that's what we wanted to say in this episode, and I just want to keep, if somebody has been feeling a little heavy, this eases them out a little bit, that they're not alone. Everybody has been feeling that level of sadness in the air, but it's okay to keep moving forward and just pushing yourself and trying to get back into routine, trying to get back to life also.
Yeah, we see you, we are you, we feel you, and yeah, take your time. There's no rush. And find your balance. That's it.
Just find your balance.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Listen Up with Simran Isha. Hope you enjoyed the conversation and make sure to like and subscribe for more. Until next time, stay tuned and listen up.